Welcome to the channel, and my name is Gary Davis. As we go into the last 5 games of the season, I just want to look at some of the formational decisions Austin FC have made, what they could possibly do tonight against the Houston Dynamo to possibly get a result and get them closer to that 9th position spot. As we look at the league, we see Austin in 10th place, 4 points behind Minnesota United. And if we look at their points per match, they're at 1.2. So if they continue that for the rest of the season, 5 games left, they're going to get 6 points. So they would hope that teams above them didn't win many 2 more games. That is very unlikely. And it's probably unlikely that Austin will pick up 1.2 for the remainder of the games the way they've been playing recently. So we want to look at some of the other stats here. We can see their XG, 32.2, is the worst in the league. And for those who don't know, XG is expected goals. XGA, the expected goals against, isn't quite the worst, but it's certainly up there. There are 2 other teams who are at the rock bottom who are worse than Austin. But if we look, at the XGD, which is the expected goal difference, I mean, you can see by some way Austin is worse at minus 15.7. So that's stating that they were expected to concede 15 more goals than they were expected to score. So what I want to look at as we move forward is the formations Austin have played this season. I'm going to look at their points per game, their XG and XGA per game, and then I'm also going to look at those same metrics against the opposition formations and look at what Austin could do in the remaining games to possibly turn things around. As we look at this first chart, we can see there's 4 formations across the bottom. We can see that the 4-2-3-1 has been used extensively throughout the season. It's been used 20 times, but we're only averaging 1.25 points per game for that. We've used the 4-1-4-1 just twice, and we had 0 points from that. The 4-3-3, we've used it 5 times, an average of 1 point per game. And the 4-4-2, which Austin FC used in the last game, they played twice. They do have 2 points per game per average. So again, that's sort of some insight. So what we'll look at next is the same formations, but what the XG and the XGA is for those particular formations. As we look at this chart, again, those 4 same formations. What is pretty showing in this particular chart is the difference between the XG and the XGA in the 4-2-3-1 formation. Austin SC are only expected to score a little over a goal per game, or only expected to score a little over a goal per game, but they're close to 2 goals they're going to concede each game. They're giving those up in chances. We look at 4-3-3 much closer, still in the negative, and also 4-4-2. We don't create a great deal, but we don't give a great deal up either. And that's been a big problem for Austin FC. They give up too many good chances. And the 4-2-3-1 system doesn't seem to be one that the team can defend very well. Playing with that double pivot, you need 2 strong defensively minded players, and I don't think Austin FC really have that. Most of their centre midfielders are more attack minded, and I feel that's where that formation has been failing. So what we're going to look at next is the points per game by formation, but against different opposition formations. Okay, so this is the heat map of formation against formation and points on average. if you look down the left-hand side, you will see the Austin FC formations. Across the bottom are the opposition formations. You can see the 4-4-2 against 3-4-3 is the highest. We got 3 points. It's the only game they played against that formation, and they did win that game. So obviously they get 3 points on average. The only other time was the last game they played when they got the draw, and they got 1 point in that. Let's look at the 4-2-3-1 formation, which is again played 20 times this season. When we play in 4-3-3, only half a point. 4-2-3-1, 0.67. When we're up against 4-3-3, it's not a bad formation to play. It seems to work well. Probably more because they're outnumbering the opposition in midfield. So we probably create more and give us a greater chance of winning. And again, 4-2-3-1, averaging a little over a point per game. So looking at that, we can obviously see 4-4-2, we know that averages 2 points across that formation. But again, we have to really look at our formations. Austin FC have to look at the formations they're playing against. They're not doing well against 4-2-3-1, which a lot of teams play these days. But 4-3-3, it may be something they can play. What we're going to look at next is the XG and the XGA. Again, similar thing. Austin FC formations against opposition formations. So as we can see from this chart, if we look again at the 4-2-3-1, most used, against every formation, we're giving up more chances than we're creating. That's never good. And if that's been consistently happening all season, it's a surprise why Wolf hasn't changed things up. We can look at 4-3-3 against 3-4-3. That was a good game, or a good couple of games. The expected goals for those particular games, 2.2 in Austin FC's favour. 4-2-2, nothing in it really. We're giving up as much as we're getting. So again, if you're looking for a solid foundation, something to build on, 4-4-2 could be the way to go. And it seems like the team may be a bit more suited to that. Before we move on to the formation and the team I would pick for tonight's game, I just want to look at some of the stats for the season and how they compare for both teams. As we look at this radar chart, it's just comparing the two teams and the things that stand out to me. Austin FC, 75th expected goals against. Their percentile is really high. Good sign is those goals per shots are pretty high, but obviously they're not getting many shots because they would be doing a lot better in the league. But also their shots on target, a similar sort of score, which isn't good, so it's cancelling things out a lot. What we can see for Dynamo FC, their pass percentage is one of the best in the league. Their live ball passes, again, one of the best in the league. Their shot creating actions, well above average. And as you can see, they beat Austin FC in tackles won and also goal creating action per 90. It's going to be a tough game. If Austin FC can get some shots away, they've got a chance of winning. But it looks like they may find it hard to get the ball off Dynamo. So next up, we're going to look at the formation, what I feel that Austin should go with, and give them the greatest chance of winning tonight. As you can see from this team, going with a 4-4-2, I think it's the stability they need. They make it hard for teams to create. Obviously, it's the same for Austin FC. They find it difficult to create in this formation. But when they do, they need to take their chances. And the players I put up front, I think, give them the best chance to take those. Let's start at the back. Obviously, Stuver, he's been probably the player of the season. If it hasn't been for him, Austin would have been in a much worse position, one of the best keepers in the league. Across the back, we've got Desler, relatively new to the team, but I think he's earned his place. Cascante and Heinzilk in the middle, I think they'd be the strongest when it comes to blocking shots, breaking up play, and giving us stability at the back. I'd go Biro again. I worry about him a little defensively, but he is an aggressive player, and I think it's what Austin needs to drive this team forward. Across the middle, in the centre, I went for leadership. The two captains for the season, Ring and Drusi. I think they have to step up. They have to show their worth, and they have to show their leadership, and they need to drive this team forward. They have to work well together. When one goes, one needs to stay and help cover that back four, and there has to be good communication there. If it's not, and they both go forward at the same time, could leave the defense open at the back, and they could get caught on the break. They have to be careful for that. Out wide, got Bukhari and Wolf. I think Bukhari has come in. I think he's done well in the time that he's had the show. I think he needs to be a bit more careful with his passing. If he can do that, I think with the two up front, he'll have more options, more players to pass to. I think he's going to be a good player for the team. And Wolf, I think that he's one of the best passers of the ball, one of the players who keeps possession the most. And I think if he can start getting his head up and start running into space, I think he can do some damage down the left. Up front, we have Zardes and O'Brien. O'Brien, I believe he's a forward, not a winger. His goals per shot average is one of the best in the league and certainly the best in this team. They need to get him in front of goals. They need to give him chances and he'll put them away. And his partner up front, Zardes, been consistent this season. He's a target man. He can help hold the ball up. And hopefully him and O'Brien will link up well, possibly moving on to flick-ons and creating trouble for the Dynamo defense. Knowing that Dynamo have played the 4-2-3-1 most of the season, Austin FC playing that against them hasn't gone well. They're, again, averaging minus 1.1 XG against that formation, using that formation. So I don't think that would be the way to go. This formation hasn't been used against 4-2-3-1, but I think it could give them stability to cause them problems, make it hard for them to get through the two blocks of four, and hopefully create one or two openings that the forwards need to take. If they don't, you can see them losing a game. If the work rate is there, chances are taken, Austin could come away with a win. I appreciate you listening, and I would appreciate your thoughts.